Okay, so we are class number 7 of Masekhet Makkot, Daf Bet, Amud Bet. We're in the Tanura Banan. Yes, Taf Bet, Amud Bet, Tanura Banan, which is the second wide line from the top, second wide line, right? Counting line number 2 from the wide lines, Tanura Banan. And we explained that the word Tanura Banan means that it's a beraita that is accepted and has been authenticated by all of the hachamim, by all the yeshivot, to be more precise. Last week we studied the Tanura Banan more at the formal level. When I say at the formal level, I mean to say we brought the Tanura Banan. Formally, it's a source for our Mishnah. That's number 1. Number 2, formally, this is how the Talmidim, this is how the students knew that the law of Edim Zomemim, the particular laws that we were studying, are Kabbalah. There is no source in the Torah. That's a second formal reason for which we brought the Tanura Banan. Third point that we said last week was that this is how Harambam knew that the laws of Edim Zomemim that we're studying, the specific laws, right? Ben Gerusha, Ben Halusa, or Hayavim Liglov. That's how Harambam knew it's Kabbalah. So we studied the Tanura Banan at the formal level. Today, we are going to be studying the Tanura Banan at the conceptual level, meaning we are going to look at the substance of the Tanura Banan and begin to study the actual laws. Okay? So let's read the Tanura Banan. Shlomo, you don't have the place. Open up the Gemara for him and show him the place. Okay?
Okay.
All right? And if you have any questions, don't be embarrassed. All right? So show him the place. The Tanura Banan. Okay? So there's 4 laws in the Beraita. Tanura Banan. Arba'a devarim ne'emru ve'edim zomemin. There are 4 unique rules that were stated with regard to edim zomemim. And here are the 4 rules. Rule number 1. En ne'aisin ben gerusha uven halusa. En ne'aisin ben gerusha ben halusa. We said many times, we don't need to explain the law again, but we'll just repeat it quickly, that if the Edim Zomemim come and say, this Kohen is actually the son of a Gerusha, and therefore he's a halal, we don't say that the Edim Zomemim become halalim. That's rule number 1. We're not going to repeat it. Rule number 2. En golin le'are miklat. What does it mean, en golin le'are miklat? It means, again, we explain this, if the Edim Zomemim come and say, this person is guilty of negligent homicide, normally the defendant would go to Are Miklat. We say no. The Edim Zomemim do not go to Are Miklat. So that's rule number 2. Those 2 rules were in the Mishnah. Now we come to rule number 3. Ve'en mishalmim et hakofer. Rule number 3. The Edim Zomemim do not pay the kofer. Let me explain this rule. And this is something you can all understand. Even though you weren't here before Shlomo, you'll understand this rule. Okay. There is a rule that says as follows. If an animal owned by somebody owns an animal, somebody owns an ox, somebody owns a cow, somebody owns a dog, somebody owns a parrot, the animal that somebody owns kills another person, kills a Jew. According to the law, that animal is executed. In the sense, if a person has a pet dog and the dog kills somebody, a person has a pet parrot and the parrot kills him, I don't know. It doesn't matter what animal, the animal is executed. That's the law of, that's a din de oraita. That's a din de oraita. That's a rule, a law from the Torah. Okay. Second point. There is a difference, and let's now move to ox. Let's talk about oxes. Generally speaking, oxes are docile animals. When I lived in Israel, I used to go quite a lot to the mountains in the Galil. There was an area there called Yad Biria, which was quite lovely. I used to go there, and I used to go jogging in the area, and you saw oxes. There was a lot of cows and oxes, and it's a little like scary at first because they're big animals, they're beasts. So you're like, if one of them gets angry at you, you're like, you don't want it to get angry at you. Okay, you don't want it to get angry at you. So, but they're docile. So like, you go running and you see them and like you see they're going and they're eating, they're basically docile animals. They don't usually attack people. So, let's say an animal attacks a person. A shor. That's a docile. That's called the shor tam. What does tam mean? It means it's innocent. Innocent in the sense that we don't think that this animal is going to be attacking a person because it is docile. And let's say the shor tam killed someone.
And a shor is a bull?
A shor is a bull, yes, a male cow. Right, let's say it killed someone. It's a shor tam. I said the law. The law is that we execute the shor. He's dead. Sakol is sakel. We stone the shor. Okay?
Because a Jew.
What?
Because a Jew.
All right, if he kills a Jew. Correct. That's right. Now, does the owner of the shor have to pay kofar? Does he have to pay a special financial penalty for the fact that his animal killed? And the answer is there's no kofar because it was a shor tam. So a shor tam that killed somebody doesn't have to pay a kofar. The owner, not the shor. The shor doesn't have to. The shor never has to pay. We're saying the owner of the shor, okay? Because the shor is considered tam. Let's say he killed 2 times. Let's say he killed 3 times. It's considered a shor tam until the 3rd time. If he kills the 3rd time, it's considered shor mu'ad. And now if he kills again, this is a shor mu'ad. What's the difference between a shor tam that killed somebody and a shor mu'ad that killed somebody? And the answer is given in the Gemara. In the case of a shor tam that killed somebody, the owner doesn't have to pay kofar. But in the case of a shor mu'ad that killed somebody, the owner has to pay a kofar. We're in Daf Bet, Amud Bet, in the Tanur Rabbanan. We're doing the 3rd case of the Tanur Rabbanan. So we're, if you go to the wide lines, count 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th wide line says, the en mishalmim et kofar. Okay, the en mishalmim et kofar. Let me read to you the pasuk. Let me read to you the pasuk in the Torah, so you hear it in the Torah.
If the animal is not a tame animal, but it's already a dangerous animal before, does that change things?
Yeah, that's considered, it's good. Some animals are mu'adim.
It's like crocodile or something.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a snake in your house, a cobra,
So
it's mu'ad. Yeah, exactly. You don't have to wait for it to kill 3 times because it's mu'ad by its nature. That's why we talk about a shor, because a shor by its nature is docile. It doesn't usually kill. Let me read you the pasuk. Ve'im shor nagachu mitimol shilshom. We have a shor that's a shor mu'ad, meaning he killed 3 times. The owner of the shor was brought to Bet Din. Somebody said, your shor just killed someone. Next day, the owner of the shor is again summoned to Bet Din.
So it has to be documented.
It has to be right. It has to be in the Bet Din. It has to be that they come to the Bet Din. Your shor killed somebody. 3 times, your shor killed somebody. That's it. Now it becomes a shor mu'ad. So that's called the im shor. Nagachu mitimon shilshom. He killed somebody previously 3 times. And they came to the Bet Din on those 3 occasions, and the guy was warned. He says, listen, you're short, you have a dangerous animal. I don't know what his issue is. Maybe he's watching some soap operas on TV. Who knows why? But the short is manic depressive, and he kills people, right? Maybe he watched the Democratic reasons for impeaching Donald Trump, and he said, if this is what humanity is, I just have to kill them. Who knows? Who knows what he is? Or maybe he's a Democrat that is upset that impeaching Donald Trump has absolutely no meaning. That's also another possibility. In all these cases, the shor killed somebody for 3 times, and the owner of the shor was supposed to take the shor and either give it medication. I mean, I'm being facetious. You're supposed to hold the shor and make sure he doesn't kill people. Don't let him roam outside if he's killing people. But he didn't do that. The Hamid Isho Isha, Hashori Sakel. As we said, the shor gets sakila. Then we know he gets stoned. You stone the shor. At this point, because the owner of the shor had to guard the shor, but he didn't guard the shor, and now the shor went and killed. He's responsible. He is hayab mita b'dei shamayim. He is now liable for death penalty from Bet Din Shemai. That's a very serious thing. So the Torah continues and says, however, even though he's subject to death penalty, he should be killed. In kofed ushat alav, we will put kofer, we will give him some sort of indemnification. We'll explain that. That's going to be one of the things we study today. What is the nature of this indemnification? He has to pay a kofer. And then he pays money to, so to speak, redeem his soul, kapara. Whatever the Dayanim decide he should pay, that's what he's going to pay. So this person has to pay money. He has to pay money because he was supposed to protect the shor. He was supposed to guard the shor and make sure the shor doesn't harm other people. He didn't do that, right? So that's a law. That's a law. Okay.
There's no fixed amount that he has to pay.
We're going to study. So that's a very good question. One of the things we're going to study is how do we determine what he has to pay?
Okay.
That's a great question, and the Sugah will deal with that. But before we deal with that, let's now go to the law of Edim Zomemim. We're dealing with Edim Zomemim, so let me read this again. Tanura Banan, go again, 1, 2, 3. Third wide line at the end of the sentence, at the end of the line it says, Ve'en meshalmim et ha-kofer. Edim Zomemim do not have to pay the kofer. Let me explain to you what this means. Reuven and Shimon come into court. What do you call it? There's a dead person. Name of the dead person, Moshe. Moshe is dead. Moshe was killed by an ox. Okay? So now the Edim Zomim, they come to court, and they say, we know who the owner of that ox is. So then what happened? He says the owner of that ox is Yisachar. Yisachar is the owner of that ox, and Yisachar was warned 3 times in the Bet Din to guard his ox, because the ox killed on 3 previous occasions, and he didn't guard his ox, and now he should pay. He should pay the kofer, right? By the way, who do you pay the kofer to now? So now the dead person is Moshe. Who do you pay the kofer to? To the Yorshim, right? The inheritors, whoever the inheritors are, exactly. So you pay to the Yorshim. So okay. So what are they saying? For example, let's say the kofer is $1,000. And later on we'll see how we figure out how we calculate the kofer. That's one of the things we're going to do today. But the point is, let's say the kofer is $1,000. So the Edim Zomemim, Reuven and Shimon are saying, Yisachar has to pay $1,000 because his shor, his ox, which was a shor mu'ad, which is an ox that was worn 3 times, or he was worn 3 times about his ox, this a shor killed Yisachar, and other Danim say, pay $1,000. They come in just one more moment. I'll get to you in one moment. So the Danim say to Yisachar, you're going to have to pay $1,000. Come into the court. Dan ben Naftali. Dan ben Naftali come into the court. Your Honor, Reuven and Shimon could not have possibly witnessed that it was the shor of Yisachar that killed Moshe, because let's say the supposed ramming, goring, the goring of Yisachar took place Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Sunday morning at 11 o'clock, the Edim Zomemim, the Reuven and Shimon could not have seen it because they were with us in a completely different city. So they're Edim Zomemim, right? That's Edim Zomemim. So what do? We say, well, okay, wait.
Pay $1,000.
Pay $1,000. They were telling Yisachar, you should pay $1,000. Now we're going to turn around, we're going to switch it, and we're going to say, Edim Zomemim, you pay $1,000. Answer is, En Mishalmim et HaKofer. And we're going to explain why. Edim Zomemim do not pay $1,000. Why? They should, but they don't. And we'll see why. Yes, sir.
The Edim themselves are testifying that they saw this ox kill the person. They're not testifying that this is the 3rd time that it happened, because that they wouldn't necessarily know. That's the Beit Din has checked the record.
Right. The Bet Din, that's a very good point. I agree with you.
So they
that is accurate. The Bet Din knows that the shor of Yisachar, for example, the Bet Din has in its records the shor of Yisachar killed on October 1st, November 1st, December 1st. We have it in our records, and every single time we brought Yisachar into court, and Yisachar was warned to guard his shor. He was warned once, he was warned twice, he was warned thrice. And now come the Edim, the Reuven and Shimon say, hey, guys, Yisachar's shor just killed another person. Moshe is dead and he was run over, and you see the hoof prints on his face. Yeah, he was run over by a shor. Sorry for the facetious attitude. Let him pay up. Let Yisachar pay up, right?
But if they thought it was the
right,
first
that's what
time, then there would be no penalty. So
if
they-
it would
they
have been
might
a
not
short
have
time, there would be no penalty. You're correct. You would kill the shor, but there would be no
But
penalty.
their testimony would be the same.
I'm sorry?
Their testimony.
Yeah, theoretically. I mean,
So they could be testifying as a Tom, and it happens to be that it was actually Muad.
right. Okay, yeah. No, I mean, no.
Oh,
They're testifying that they saw Issachar's shor kill someone.
Right. But if it was the first time it ever happened,
Yeah.
there would be no penalty.
There would be no penalty because there's no financial penalty for that.
Either, so maybe.
Oh, you're saying
The shore would still be killed.
right. So that's an interesting question. Now, you're asking an interesting question, and what this beraita is dealing with, a different subject. Meaning, the beraita is dealing with a situation where there is a financial penalty, because you're right. If they made dim on a
Walk away
short,
with nothing?
right? Because if they made dim on a short time, there's no financial penalty. Correct. I'm sorry.
They walk away,
Oh no, we didn't say that. We didn't say that.
say
But they don't pay the kofar.
Okay.
That's first. That's a very good question, but they don't pay the kofar.
Okay.
They don't pay the kofar. What do we do with them? We'll study later.
They have to know that it was the third. They have to know it was Muad.
It doesn't matter it doesn't matter. In other words, the important thing is that they're making a testimony,
That they saw the.
and they're
ox.
saying we saw this ox killing someone.
knowingly that.
I
you
don't
have
think that
one.
their
Their intent doesn't matter.
I don't think that
Their
their
prior knowledge.
presumptive liability would be contingent on whether they know that it's short time and shomar, but it doesn't matter because it's all speculation. Because in any event, they don't pay. Why don't they pay? We'll see why. Meaning, it's like a theory. What if the halacha was like that? So let's not speculate. The halacha is they don't pay. Why? Why don't they pay? We'll see. We're reading the Talmud Rabbanan. We're just reading it. Okay, we will explain it. The Gemara will explain it later. Okay? All right.
Just a question, they
Yes.
have to stone the ox?
Yes.
Can't you just slaughter it and eat it?
No, haram. You have to start. No, you cannot. Hashori sakel. You cannot slaughter it.
Specifically, it's if lo ya'achel b'sharo.
Yes, Hashori sakel.
I think you can give it to Goyim, no?
No, you can't. You have to. That's it. You have to kill it. That's a halacha. That's a Torah. It says Hashori sakel. Right. It says. Listen to the pasuk. Listen to the pasuk.
Yeah. Barbecues.
No, you can't. Yeah. No barbecue. Sorry. It says, listen, "V'chiyigach shoret ish o isha v'met sakol yisakel hashor ve'lo yachel et besaro haram
To eat.
to eat it." Right?
Whether you can eat the skin or whatever.
In fact, if somebody came and like let's say the owner of the shor was a wise guy, he ran to the shor and before they can stone the shor, he made shahitan it, haram to eat it. It's asul behana'ah. You understand? It's asul behana'ah.
So
So
it's-
sakol yisakel hashor. So
you
even
have
the
to
guy-
benefit from him.
yeah, no benefit. So even if the guy was a wise guy, goes with the shahitana, kills the shor, and they want to do that's it. He killed it. What are you going to
What
stone
about
a dead shor? That's it. Halal, haram to you, and you can't enjoy it. That's it.
Not even his hide or his
Nothing.
horns?
Asur behana'ah. Asur behana'ah.
No benefit. That's
To make the
No
chain,
benefit from it.
belt, something?
No, but nothing.
Like shoes.
Nothing.
Keep negotiating.
That's it. Okay, so that was the third law in the Tanur Rabbanan. The third law in the Tanur Rabbanan is that the Edim Zomemim do not pay the kofir. Why? We will discuss that. Let's finish the Tanur Rabbanan. We have two more things in the Tanur Rabbanan. Ve'en nimkarim ve'eved ivri. The fourth law in the Tanur Rabbanan is as follows. We do not sell them as a slave. There are certain cases where we would take a Jew and sell the Jew as a slave. It's called Eved Ivri, a Jewish slave. There are laws of Eved Kena'ani, which is a Gentile slave, and there are laws of Eved Ivri, which is a Jewish slave. Let me explain to you why somebody would become an Eved Ivri. And it's as follows.
Do not pay.
A person robs. If a person robs in secret, what is that called? A ganav. Ganav is a person who robs in secret. Now he goes out, stick up, this.
Sure.
They had a guy in the bank. He's going to banks. He's robbing banks now. That's not called a ganab. So the guy, what does he do? He goes with a note, give me the money for the bank or I'll, blow this place up. So now they have this, brilliant, the political establishment. So they used to have a story when I was growing up, it was called Chachmei Chelem, the wise men of Chelem. And I think that one day when the Mashiach comes, they're going to take the political leaders, right? And they are going to make stories about them. And people are going to say, this can't be. Nobody could possibly be that dumb. I mean, no, it can't be. It's just a story. It's a funny story. We studied it when we were young. And I'm saying, no, the wise men of Chelem, New York City, they made this new law, a bail law. If you are a criminal and you do not cause severe injury to somebody, you go out on bail, right? You go out on bail, come back a year or two later, right? They'll find the criminal, right? He'll come to, he'll come to court, I'm sure. So they have this criminal that keeps going to banks and robbing them. And then the police arrest him and then they release him. And like the guy actually was interviewed in the newspaper and he said, like, I'm just amazed. Like, why on earth would they let me go? Like, I'm robbing banks. Like, he can't believe it. So finally, this is real. I'm not making this up. So finally they had this, criminal who kept going out and they finally decided to declare, the judge declared that the criminal was insane. The reason he declared he was insane is not because he was really insane, but because the only way he can hold the person is by declaring that he's insane and put him in a mental institution. And I just want to say that I think the judge had the right idea. But it's not the criminal who was insane. I think they have to take the politicians who made these rules, Mayor de Blasio, all of City Hall, all of the legislators, Governor Cuomo, and put them in the mental institution, and then put the criminals in jail. That's what we have to do, because you really have to be insane to actually, with a straight face, produce legislation. I mean, it's really remarkable. Anyway, this robber who goes into the bank and robs in public, that is not called a ganab. What is a ganab?
In secret.
You have to do it
Not only
secretly.
showed it.
Exactly, if a person does it secretly.
What is that?
Sir, he goes into the dead of night, goes into the house when nobody sees him, takes something, leaves. Or he pickpockets somebody. He does it secretly, right? So now the law of the Ganav says that when the Ganav comes to court, he is accused of robbing. There are two possibilities. One possibility is that he admits it. If he admits it, then he pays whatever he robbed. He robbed $100, pay back $100. That's called the keren. Meshalem et keren. The other possibility is that he says, no, I didn't rob. It's not true. Now, if the judge has edim come to court and they say, we saw him robbing. We saw him entering that house, and we saw him leaving the house, and in his, he had gold coins with him. We saw that. So at this point, he doesn't pay the keren, he pays twice. He pays the keren, and he pays the chom, and he pays, kefel. He pays twice. So if he robbed $100, he's going to pay back $200. That's the law of the ganav. Now, there is a law, im en lo v'nimkad b'gnevato. If he cannot pay back, then according to law, he must be sold as a slave. That's the law of Eved Ivri. How does a Jew become a slave? He robbed, has to be geneva, secretly. He is now told, pay up.
No.
I don't have the money. They go, they check, they look, real estate, the metaltelin first. First they look at his chattel, no chattel. Then they look at his real estate, no real estate. Now, if he can pay the keren, if he can pay the amount he robbed, but he can't pay the kefil, he can't pay the double, meaning he robbed $100. He says, here's a check for $100, take it. Give another $100. I don't have it. He said, I don't have it. And they check, he doesn't have it. He's not sold as a slave. He's only sold as a slave if he doesn't have anything, exactly. But if he paid the keren, he paid the principal amount he robbed, we're not going to sell him as a slave. He still owes the other amount. Fine, he owes that. But we're not going to sell him as a slave. You understand the point? So that's the law of the Eved Ivri. Now, let's say Edim Zomemim come. There was a robbery. There was a break-in. Moshe's house was burglar, he lost, I don't know, he lost expensive vase. Okay, he lost an expensive vase. Somebody took his expensive vase. We know that as a fact. Chom de Eidim Zomemim, and they say, we saw this. It was Sunday night at 9 o'clock at night. We saw Yisachar entering Moshe's house, and we saw him leaving with that expensive vase. So what did the Dayanim do? You tell him, did you do it? He said, I didn't do it, no. But these two witnesses say you did it. Pay kefek. Pay the canon and pay the double amount. Pay the kenas. Okay, pay the principal. How much was the vase worth? It was a expensive vase from the Ming Dynasty worth $10,000. Pay $20,000. And he's like screaming, I didn't do it. Well, we have to al pi shenayim edim, yakum davar. There's two witnesses. That's it. Pay up. They check. He doesn't have the money. They check his chattel. They check his everything. He doesn't have the money. Now, this guy would have had to be an Eved Ivri because he didn't have the money. He couldn't pay up. He had zero. He couldn't. Not that he couldn't pay the double. He couldn't pay anything. He couldn't pay the penalty. He couldn't pay the principal. So now the Edim Zomemim, they're there and they're like, they're there. Come into court. Two witnesses say, you said that you saw Yisachar entering Moshe's house 9 o'clock at night, Sunday night. You were with us. You were with us in a different place. How could you have seen it? That becomes Edim Zomemim. Now what do we say? Let's take the Edim Zomemim and make them Eved Ivri. They wanted to make Yisachar into an Eved Ivri. He was about to be sold as a slave. Let's take the Edim Zomemim and make them Eved Ivri. We don't do it. Why? We'll see. But this is the Beraita. So those are the 4 laws of the Beraita. Just to summarize. Edim Zomemim come and accuse somebody of being a Ben Gerusha, Ben Chalusa. He's a Kohen. And they say his mom was a divorcee. We don't say that Edim Zomemim become a Ben Gerusha, Ben Chalusa. Okay. The law number 2. The witnesses come and say this defendant was guilty of negligent homicide. We don't say that the Edim Zomemim go to a sanctuary city. That's what we would have done to the person who was guilty of negligent homicide. We don't send him to a sanctuary city. Number 3, the Edim Zomemim come and say that his ox killed somebody for the 4th time. We don't make the Edim Zomemim pay the kofer. And number 4, the case we just did now, the Edim Zomemim say this person should be sold into slavery because he was a robber, he robbed, doesn't have money to pay, sell him into a slave, and then ends up the Edim Zomemim. We don't say make the Edim Zomemim a slave. Okay, so these are the 4 exceptions to the rule. Normally, Shalomo, when you have Edim Zomemim, we do to the Edim what they wanted to do to the defendant, and it ends up they lied. So let's say they wanted the defendant to get Malkut, we get Malkut to the Edim Zomemim, right? Whenever there's like a thing where they try to lie and we catch them, we do to the Edim Zomemim what they want to do to the defendant. Yes, Elliot?
Who gets the money when he pays?
Okay, so let's
When
say...
he pays double.
Right.
One back and one to the
When he pays double, he pays it to the person who's robbed.
Twice?
Twice.
One for the
Yeah,
government.
exactly. Meaning,
So the
let's say...
person was robbed, Moshe
Right.
gets twice.
Right, exactly. Let's say Moshe's house was robbed for real, and it ends up that Yisachar was the robber, for example. Yisachar will pay Moshe twice.
Wow. So not the Bedin. It's not doesn't pay Moshe like once. And
No. Everything goes to...
Until
You know,
now, they didn't make any money. What kind of bedin is this?
it's a betin l'shem shamayim.
Shem Shamayim.
I need to have expenses.
Right? No, but that's... what?
It's just some guy.
Right, so it's a betin l'shem shamayim.
Okay.
I have a question. Can a slave redeem himself before the 6 years period
Yes.
if he gets the money?
Yes. That's a very good question. Okay. So let's
But only
continue.
if he steals. I understand in Yirmiyahu he wanted to marry this girl that her father was sold as a...
Yeah, that was against Halacha. The people were really bad then. The people were really bad.
Okay, but he didn't steal nothing. He just
They
owed
used to
money.
take people who owe money and make them
Slave.
yeah, the famous story with Obadiah Hanavi when he died, and then his wife, she had the 2 sons, and then the son of Ahav came and wanted to take them and as slaves because the wife was left with the debt of her husband, and then Elisha Hanavi saved her with the miracle of the oil. Yeah, they were bad people. They were really bad people.
Rabbi, something's going on over there.
All right, do you
They
wanna?
both left, they didn't come back. Somebody came in and they both went to see who it is.
All right, hopefully, we.
Wanna
Need
go?
you? Where you go? There's nobody left in the class.
Okay, all right. So I'll continue anyway for the sake of people.
Stop it for a second if you want.
Right, no, it's on live feed and it's on YouTube, so I can't. Okay, so let's just read it again, and we'll repeat it when the commotion dies down. Rabbi Akiva, Mishum Rabbi Akiva, Amru, Af and Mishalmin. Everything good? Right.
You brought with you another guy for prayers?
Everything good? Yeah. I know what happens.
What?
Somebody came here, they want to study the Shas according to the Ponovich methodology.
He doesn't like the
He was
Lyceum.
wondering if we needed minyan.
I see. Okay. The Rabbi Akiva, Mishum Rabbi Akiva Amru, and here's a fifth and final law in this Tanur Rabbanan, and it's as follows. Av en mishamim al pi asman. We do not let them pay al pi asman. I will explain this law. This is the fifth and final law of the Tanur Rabbanan, and it is as follows. There is the following principle. Umodeh ve'ozer yerucham. If a person comes to court and he confesses, we show compassion for him for having confessed. And the real legal term for that is modeh biknas patur. If a person confesses to a crime for which there is a kenas, for which there is a penalty, he is absolved of the penalty. So I gave you the example. The example I gave you before was an eved. A ganav. Person is accused of robbing, he comes to court. He's accused of robbing $100, we'd have to pay $200. $100, which is the principal amount, the extra $100 would be a penalty. But if he confesses, we have rahmanut on him. We say, okay, modeh biknas, you confess, you only have to pay the principal amount. Return the money you robbed, and that's it. You don't have to pay a kanas. That's a special rule. And here's an interesting application of the rule of modeh biknas patur, according to the Rabbi Akiva. The Rabbi Akiva says as follows: Edim Zomimim come and say, for example, Edim Zomimim come and say, Yisachar borrowed $100 from Reuven. We saw it. And the time for the payment has passed. Reuven is owed $100 by Yisachar. Yisachar has to pay him. It was a loan. We're Edim. According to Halacha, Yisachar has to pay $100 to Reuven. Okay. So, let me give you a more precise example. Edim Zomimim come and say, last Friday afternoon, we saw Reuven lending $100 to Yisachar and saying, this is a loan, you have 1 week to pay me back. And Yisachar said, I'll pay you back in 1 week. And he gave him the money, and we saw this, and it was an oral loan. Okay, that's a milva al peh. Milva al peh means an oral loan. Come to Edim, and they say, this happened a week ago. We saw it. It was Friday afternoon at 3:30, right before Shabbat, 4 o'clock right before Shabbat. Okay, where did it happen? It happened in Manhattan Beach. Come into the court, Dan v'Naftali. Dan v'Naftali say, wait, you said that you were Friday afternoon at 3:30 in Manhattan Beach. You saw Reuven lending money to Yisachar? Really? Because you were with us in Deal, New Jersey, Friday afternoon at 3:30. So unless you can fly over the Verrazano Bridge, there was no way you could have possibly been in Manhattan Beach. They become Edim Zomimim. According to Halacha, the Edim Zomimim have to pay the $100. Okay, this is the case where Ba'asitim Lo, we're always talking about the exception. You're wondering, when did they have to, so this is a very classic case where the Edim Zomimim, they wanted Yisachar to pay $100 to Reuven. Now they're going to have to pay $100 to Yisachar, right? Each one will pay $50. We split it between the two Edim. They give the money to them. So that's an example of Asitim No Kasher Zamam Lasot La'achim. Here's the interesting thing. Let's say, same scenario. Edim Zomemim. They say, we saw Reuven lent Yisachar $100.
Why are they in court?
Because Reuven wants to get paid back. Reuven wants to get paid back. They're coming to support Reuven, and they invited
And the guy
Yisachar
doesn't
back.
want to pay him.
Right? And you say, it never happened. It never happened. Yisachar is saying it never happened. Anyway, so what is happening now? Let's say they're there. We have 4 people in court, other than the judges. We have Yisachar, who supposedly borrowed the money. We have Reuven, who supposedly lent the money. We have the 2 witnesses. What did we say? I'm sorry. We had the 2 witnesses, whatever they are, X and Y. Okay. Now, the judge says, "Really? Like, you sure about this? You sure this is your testimony?" Yeah, this is our testimony.
Before the other two guys.
Yeah, the other 2 guys didn't come yet. Exactly before the 2 guys. So he says, "Okay," because somebody just called up the court, and they have some interesting information to give me. So how about you all hang out here for a few minutes, because Dan and Naphtali are coming. And the guys are beginning to sweat, dripping, and the sweat dripping all over the place. And the judge is saying, "I'm really looking forward to hearing what Dan and Naphtali," because they actually told me on the phone, but that's not testimony, they have to come to court, but they told me on the phone that they were with you in a party, that apparently there were a lot of people saw you in the party at the time where supposedly the loan took place. So following the breakdown, we're lying, we just made it up. Yisachar doesn't owe Reuven money, it's all a fraud, we were going to split the money 3 ways, and we confess. According to the Bi'akiva, the halacha is not like this. When Edim Zomemim pay, it's always considered a kenas. Now, if it's a penalty, whenever Edim Zomemim pay, it's always considered a penalty. And that's what the Bi'akiva says. And because it's a penalty, if they confess, what did we say about somebody who confesses? He's patur. Modeh biknas, patur. You confess to a crime which has a penalty, you don't have to pay the penalty. So the Bi'akiva says, if the Edim Zomemim confess to the crime before the other pair of witnesses come in, right? They don't have to pay. That's what the Bi'akiva says. It's not the halacha, by the way. It's not the halacha, so don't try it. Okay? but that's end of the Baraita. Anyway, that's end of the Baraita. We finished reading the Baraita. There were 5 laws in the Baraita. Now we're going to start analyzing the laws in the Baraita. Okay? But first, this is a good question. This is a good point to have a break. If anybody has a question, I will take the questions now. Okay. All right. No questions? Okay.
We like to ask at the wrong time.
I want to ask about the structure, how you would classify the structure of the sugya, but
Yeah, and that's a very good question. I do want to get to that because it really is a good question. We haven't dealt with the structure because then I wanted to get a little more into the substance of this that I thought, which we read last time, and I just wanted to deal with this. And once we finish that, then we'll tie it all up together. And okay.
Laminim v'lamalshinim. What is that, laminim?
They were the enemies of the Jewish people. It used to be laminim v'lamosrim al titikva. So there was Jews who would collaborate with the, let's say, with the Roman Empire, right? And they would put other Jews, accuse other Jews of having committed crime. They were called Mosrim, right? So the minim were like the early Christians. They were called minim because they were political enemies of the Jews. They weren't just
Malshinim is?
Malshinim, those who tattletale, meaning who go to the Goy authorities and tattletale.
Like Edim Zomemim.
Right, no, because what was happening there is they would go, let's say, in the days of the Chashmonaim, for example. They would go to the Greek authorities. We know that there's Jews who lit a Shabbat candle. Go catch them. Let's go to that and that address. You understand? It wasn't necessarily false testimony. They were enemies of the Jewish people. They're completely different. This is personal. That's political. When we were praying, we were talking about our political enemies, like, unfortunately, what are you going to do? But there are some Jews who are anti-Israel. Like the Jews who support the BDS movement, right? So that would be a good example of, what do you say? Minim al-Malshinim. It's a type of Minim al-Malshinim. They're enemies of the Jewish people. Or even, let's say, why go there? There's the Satmar. They're not enemies of the Jewish state, but then you have the Neturei Kafta, that they're enemies of the Jewish state. I distinguish between two things. They stand on the Israel Day parade with Palestinian flags, all they have to be doing is singing, Hava Nagila Hava, but they're, with a
Sometimes
Palestinian
they
flag.
hire
What?
Sometimes they hire Mexicans to stand there.
Oh, is that right?
Also wearing wigs, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that I didn't know, but it's really fun. And I once saw like a video. They were in like a wedding, and the tour cut the wedding. They were like with a Palestinian flag. I mean, I thought they were going to sing a tikva soon, but they didn't sing it. But it was I mean, they're crazy. They're crazy. But be that so, that would be a good example of laminim and lamalshinim, because they're always there to attack the Jewish people and to hurt the Jewish people. So that's, I don't care if somebody can disagree with us, that's okay, and you can be less religious, more religious, very irreligious, very religious, it's all fine, but you can't attack the Jewish people. That's the problem. Yes, young man?
Yeah. So back to the event when the ox was killing the person or whatever.
Yeah.
So if the owner trains their ox, or let's say in case a dog,
Yeah.
to attack somebody and doesn't attack somebody on purpose
Right.
and kill them, is there a punishment for the owner?
Yes, that's a different law. That's a very good question, and the halakha actually deals with it, and it's a different law. First of all, the dog is considered mu'ad from the beginning. The dog is considered mu'ad from the beginning, and in this case, you don't kill the animal because he was just doing what his owner told him, because the dog had no choice but to kill. Meaning, if the dog is forced, so to speak, sick him boy, and like you train the dog, if he doesn't go sick him, then he'll get like a stick over his head, and the dog goes and sicks him, kills the person. That's so the dog is not responsible at this point. We don't kill the dog, but and that's a very good question. But it's let's continue now in.
Scary dog.
I'm sorry.
I said, he has a scary
Oh no, his dog is very nice. Your dog is very nice actually, and I have no doubt that your dog will not be guilty of any crimes. Okay, all right. Let's now read. Now the Gemara is going to analyze the Beraita, and it's going to explain each one of these laws. Okay? And Mishalmi, I'm sorry. Right. And there is law number 1 in the Beraita. And there is in Ben Gerusha Ben Halusa Kidamran. We already explained that law. Ben Golin La'ale Miklat Kidamran. We already explained the law of negligent homicide. So we don't have to explain that law again. Okay. Right. The en mishalmim et kofer. Now going back to the law of kofer. The shor killed somebody and he has to pay kofer. It was a shor mu'ad. Kasabre, kofra, kapara. Now let's analyze this law. We're saying that the edim zomemim do not pay the kofer that the owner of the shor would have paid. If the owner of the shor was actually guilty of having a shor that killed, he was supposed to guard the shor. He didn't guard the shor, and he's guilty. He would have to pay kofer. Apparently, why wouldn't we tell the edim zomimi so pay the kofer? Yisachar would have had to pay $1,000. Have the edim zomimi pay the $1,000? Why not? The answer is because kasavre, the beraita or the hachamim, whose opinion is being expressed in the Beraita, Kasavre, they are of the opinion that Kofra Kapara, this payment of Kofer, is actually a type of atonement. It's like bringing a korban. Vehaneh, la bene kaparaninu. Now, these edim zomemim are not within the rules of kapara. What does that mean? I'll give you an example. If somebody is mechalel Shabbat be'shogeg, he has to bring a korban hatat kevu'ah, a particular korban in the Bet HaMikdash. That korban is there to help a person who did a particular sin for which he's hayav. He would have been hayav karet if he did it b'mezid. So there's a particular cure. There's a remedy. A person did an avon. Here's the remedy for the avon. A person was Gazlan, he robbed gezel, as you rob with force. He has to bring asham gezelot. It's a particular type of korban that you bring for that sin. A person entered the Bet HaMikdash betum'ah. He didn't know at the beginning. He knew later on that he was tameh. He has to bring. It's called korban ole ve'yoreh. There's many different types of sins, and for each sin, there is a particular remedy. Yeah. There is a particular cure. The korban is a type of cure. Now, the person who has a shor, which he doesn't guard, that's very reckless. It's a very contemptuous attitude that he has because he knows his shor is killing people, and he's letting his shor go around to kill people. That shows a certain type of contempt. That person's cure is kofer. You can't take the cure, the medicine that the Torah, that Hashem gives him a particular medicine. Okay, let's give that medicine now to the Edim Zomemim. It's completely inapplicable. I mean, it's like, somebody has a virus, you don't give them antibiotics, right? It's not going to help. Somebody has, a cold, you're not going to put bacitracin on their nose. It's not going to help, right? So you have to give the right cure for the right disease. In this case, la bene kaparaninu, the Edim Zomemim do not need to have kapara. That's not the kapara. They need a kapara. I mean, boy, they need a kapara. These guys are bad people. They're going into court, but not this kapara. You understand? Okay, all right. So that's why, that would seem to be the reason why the Chachamim, the Baraita said that the Edim Zomemim do not pay the kofer. Okay, the Gemara is now going to analyze this particular subject. Man tana kofra kapara. Okay, so now we want to do the following. This is Emoraim. The people having this discussion are in the days of the Emoraim. The Gemara takes place in the days of the Emoraim, meaning after Rabbeinu HaKadosh finished the Mishnayot were compiled, the Chachamim who came later, particularly in Bavel, we had Yeshivat Surah. There was one major yeshiva. And we had Yeshivat Pumbedita. There was another major yeshiva. The Chachamim in those yeshivot, they were called Emoraim, and they would study the Mishnayot, they would explain the Mishnayot, they would reach certain legal conclusions. The Emoraim, when they were thinking about ideas, legal ideas, they would always want to see whether the Tanaim, meaning the Chachamim, before the Mishnayot were written, dealt with those issues, right? And here we have an interesting case. We have the law of kofer. The owner of a shor that killed somebody has to pay kofer. What is the purpose of that kofer? What we just said. The purpose of the kofer is to give kapara, to give atonement for the owner of the shor. He was negligent, he was reckless, he had contempt for society. Let's give him the kapara. Is there one of the Tanaim that we can attribute that point of view to? That's what we're doing now. So now we're going back in time. We have a thesis. What's the thesis? I'll get to you in a moment. The thesis is that the kofer is an atonement, right? So now, that's a very big statement, and it's a statement that has to do with the pasuk in the Torah. So can we find an opinion among the Tanaim that in studying this pasuk, they must have studied this pasuk, that they study the pasuk in this way, and they said, kofer, the reason he pays a kofer is to atone for a sin. Is there somebody we can attribute to that? And that's what we're going to do now. Question.
Is the word tana here a noun or a verb?
It's a good question. It's a verb. Man tana, who is a tana? That's kofra kapara.
That would be a noun.
Yeah. Did I say verb?
You said verb.
I'm sorry, mechila. If a person makes a neder or a shevuah, and they're thinking one thing, and they say another thing, the shevuah doesn't count. So if I want to fast tomorrow, and I say I'm going to fast in 2 days, I meant to say I'm going to fast tomorrow, it's not considered a shevuah. Okay, that was a good example.
Well, everyone knows what you're thinking.
Right. So mantana kofra kapara. Who is the tana now? Who is the tana? That hacham from the earlier generation of hachamim before the Mishnayot. Who is the tana that? Can we find a tana who is aligned with this position? Let me be a little more precise. Can we find a tana who we can attribute this position to? Okay, that's the real question. And now we're going to say yes. There is a tana that we can attribute that position to, and here it is. Amar Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda was one of the great hachamim in Yeshivat Surah. Yeshivat Surah was, as we said, in Babylonia. The Rosh Yeshiva in Surah in the first generation was Rav. Rav was considered one of the greatest Emoraim ever, and one of his star pupils was Rav Chisda. So here, Rav Chisda, he's in Yeshivat Surah, they're discussing this, and he says, Amar Rav Chisda, or maybe not, but you know what, I didn't think too much about where this discussion is taking place. It could be that it's taking place in Yeshivat Pumbedita, because Rav Chisda used to go to Yeshivat Pumbedita as well. So you know what, I retract. I tried to say that where this discussion is taking place. Right now, I don't know where the discussion is taking place, so just suspend that. I know it's taking place in Babylonia. I know it's either Yeshivat Tzura or Yeshivat Pumbedita, that I know. I know it's a second generation Emoraim, because that place has a second generation Emorah, but I haven't nailed it down whether it was Yeshivat Tzura specifically or Yeshivat Pumbedita specifically. But okay, we can still understand the content. Amar Rav Chisda, Rabbi Ishmael, beno shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Berokahu, the Tana to whom we can attribute the opinion that the payment of money by the owner of the murderous shor is in fact an atonement, that can be attributed to Rabbi Ishmael, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka. There was many Rabbi Ishmaels. This Rabbi Ishmael is the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka. That was a fourth generation. Tana, he was a generation after Rabbi Akiva, okay? At the end of the period of the Tanaim, right before the Mishnah was edited. He was a generation before the Mishnah was edited. He was friendly with Rabban Shimon Gamliel. Rabban Shimon Gamliel was a follower of Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Rabbeinu HaKadosh is the one who compiled the Mishnayot. So Rabbi Ishmael ben Rosh, Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka was a friend and colleague of the father, Rabban Shimon Gamliel, of Rabbeinu HaKadosh. So he was at this generation, right? So he was a generation before the Mishnah was compiled. So there is something that he says, and what he says is aligned with the position that kofra kapara, that the kofir is actually an atonement. And here's what he says. Detanya, here's a beraita. Benatan pidyon nafsho. Let me read you the pasuk.
But didn't say anything about short.
Yeah. Let me read you the pasuk. Again, this is talking about a person who has a shor that killed somebody. In kofir, you shot alav. We said he's hayab mitabid shamayim, he has to be killed. But we said in kofir, you shot alav. We will give him the opportunity to pay kofir. Benatan pidyon nafsho. How much does he have to pay? This goes to the question that Elliot asked earlier. How much does he have to pay? The pasuk says, Benatan pidyon nafsho. He should pay for the redemption of his soul. What does it mean that he should pay for the redemption of his soul? This Beraita records a dispute. The first opinion of the Beraita, which is the opinion of the Hachamim, it is a majority opinion. You know, whenever you have Supreme Court cases, or whenever you have a case in the common law country, you could have a majority opinion, and then you have a minority opinion. Always, right? So you have the majority. We have most of the Supreme Court justices rule whatever, and then you have the minority opinion who dissents and says, no, we disagree, right? So the majority opinion is, what is pidyon nafsho? Demen izak. What does demen izak mean? You look at the value of the nizak, of the victim. So let's say the victim, he was a janitor. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, this is just the way the law looks at it. They say, okay, this guy's a janitor. If he was in the slave market and we were selling him as a slave, how much would he be sold for? $10,000. Okay, so what's demen izak? $10,000. Let's say that the guy was a surgeon, he was a heart surgeon or brain surgeon. They say, okay, if he was a slave and he was sold as a slave in the market, he's a brain surgeon, how much would he be sold for? $200,000. Demen izak. We look, according to the majority opinion, we look at the value of the victim. Rabbi Ishmael beno shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka Omer, the Tana that we brought, namely Rabbi Ishmael beno shel Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka, this Rabbi Ishmael disagrees. He represents a minority opinion. He says, no, demeh mazik. We look at the value, not of the dead victim. We look at the value of the defendant. We look at the value of the owner of the ox. That's how we value it. So we take the owner of the ox and we say, how much would he be worth if he was sold as a slave in the market? And that's how much the owner of the ox would pay to the inheritors of the dead victim, right? Because the dead victim can't be paid money. So we pay money to the people who inherit him, right? So that's the machloket. That's the beraita, according to machloket. Does he pay demen nizak or does he pay demen mazik? That's the machloket. My love, like that, and that's the end of the beraita. Now the Gemara is going to explain the beraita. My love, isn't it that the dispute between the majority opinion that says Demen Nizak, the value of the victim, and the minority opinion, Demen Mazik, that says the value of the defendant, isn't this dispute based upon the following? Demol Savar Kofra Mamona, Umol Savar Kofra Kapara. The majority opinion is based upon the fact that this kofer is just financial damages. That's all it is, financial damages. What does it mean? Well, think about it. You just killed a brain surgeon. This brain surgeon was worth $200,000, and you just took away $200,000 from the family, his parents, his children, his whatever. Pay $200,000. That's financial. That's a pure financial transaction. Pay the damages. Pay the damages. That's called Demeh Mazik. And the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael ben Osher, Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroka, which is a minority opinion, who says, no, you don't pay the Demeh Nizak, you don't pay the value of the victim, you pay the Demeh Mazik, you pay the value of the defendant. What does he say? Kofra kapara. He is of the opinion that it is not a financial transaction. It is not financial indemnification. Rather, it is an atonement.
Yes.
Now, what does it mean it's an atonement? If the person, let's say the defendant, the owner of the shoulder, we said, let's say his name is Yisachar. His name is Yisachar, right? He should be killed.
Yes, that's what I agree with that.
Exactly. So what do? We say pay.
He redeems himself.
He redeems himself. He was supposed to be killed. How much are you worth? Pay the value of your neshama. You're worth $100,000. You pay $100,000 to
The family.
Exactly. You see the machloket between is it Demeh Nizak or is it Demeh Mazik? That's the machloket. So here we see that apparently we found the Tana to whom we can attribute the idea that kofra kapara, the payment of the kofer, is actually an atonement. And that's halakha, by the way. That is halakha. The halakha is
Halakha is the second opinion?
right. No, the halakha is mechila. The halakha is Demeh Nizak. The halakha is
Nizak is the majority.
right. The halakha is it's Demeh Nizak. Well, first I understand your question, so don't jump to the conclusion. It's not that you were wrong about what you're thinking, because I understand what you're thinking. We didn't, but so suspend that conclusion for a moment. Okay, suspend it for a moment. We came to the time. This is a great place to stop. I didn't explain what I said I was going to. I have a WhatsApp. You're on the WhatsApp group?
Yes.
Right. I said I was going to explain something amazing about the Dinim Flame. Okay, that's going to be the next class. But I love this class because we really got into great, right? We really study Torah. We study these 4 laws. We study the 5th law of Rabbi Akiva. So there's a lot of content. I love Torah. I love it when there's like a lot of content. So even though we didn't accomplish anything, but it was worth the time because we were, minus a joke about the insane politicians. And I guess that was the only thing I could have saved. Okay, any questions before we, yes sir?
Yeah, so mine relates to the Nimul thing, maybe you can answer it next time, but we'll see. So, we say that these 4 laws are Kabbalah, right?
But you're on the group also, right?
Yes.
You're good, okay, yeah.
So these were received through tradition, but we don't know if necessarily if they're from Moshe and Sinai, or maybe they were tradition
Right.
that developed.
Right, a very ancient tradition
Right,
which we
so
can't
is-
attribute.
Would it be plausible to, would it make sense to say they could have been Dinim Mufla'im at some point? Once the din
No,
was established.
because
eventually-
because Dinim Uflaim is only in a case where there's a pasuk. There's no
Ah.
pasuk here. That's why it's Kabbalah. If it was Dinim Uflaim, it wouldn't be Kabbalah. It would have a pasuk. You understand?
Right, we rely on the fact that they preserved the Dirasha, that was.
Yes,
that likely
exactly.
The Din Mufla', and
Exactly.
therefore we don't have it.